Hello, bonjour, savant. How are we tonight? It is Thursday, December the 11th, 2025, here in southwestern Ontario, Canada, by the very cold shores of Lake Huron. It is continuing to be very, very cold, wintry weather, and we're getting through it here. There's a topic that has been on my mind for quite some time, and I'm getting that tonight is the divine timing where we're going to actually talk about it. We have talked about it from time to time in previous videos, episodes, but we're going to delve into it in a little bit more detail, and I suspect that Spirit is going to use some of my personal examples as concrete examples. In other words, little vignettes from my personal experience during the last 3.5 years of me being in this area. Spirit has been teaching me, unbeknownst to me in the beginning. Oh, I get it now. But in the beginning, I didn't get the plan. I didn't get the program, that was set out as to what we're going to be learning now that I'm in this area. But the main thing that I've been shown is the psychology. In fact, everything has been psychological training here. The psychology of narcissism. We have touched on this before. Going to download some information. Going to give some personal examples. And draw some definite conclusions from this study of narcissism. The narcissistic behavioral patterns were implanted in these seeds of light millennia ago. They were transferred from one subhuman race to another. The Draconians put this in place so that we would be able to lift ourselves out of our space. So what I have been learning about this is a lower light way of being. But as we know, as we've talked about for years now, we come in from high light, we drop down, we experience the third density here. We go through tests and trainings, so on and so forth, for our own learning and experience. And then we transmute that pain, trauma, whatever it is, learning experience, and we move forward on our new higher timeline. So again, that is the course of light. Come in high, drop down low, bounce back up. Once you work your way back up through all the traumatic experiences, the pain, the blame shame game, the regret, the guilt, the whole kit and caboodle. And then we rise back up into our higher light. That's the transcendency, that's the ascendancy on your world and on your planet here. That's the name of the game. It's to transcend the pain. The narcissistic pattern or approach to life is significant. It comes from war and strife. It does not come from a higher life. It comes from the lower life, the lower realms, the lower way of being. Some of us have it programmed in our genetics right from the start, like when we come in here. Others are transferred into that from more painful experiences in the environment. But bottom line, we all have to transcend that lower line of time. Okay, the narcissistic behavior, it's all about me. Look at me. Give me attention. I'm the best, better than the rest. That all comes from, of course, the subterfuge of feeling less than. And the more narcissistic the person is, man or woman, doesn't matter, The deeper, the harder the program it is to withdraw, to pull that out of the person, or to recognize, to see it, to do it. The worst part of this training ground is to see yourself in that lower view, that limited lower view. And it's painful because, for one, it isn't true. But we fall for it. We think it is true. And so everything comes from that one generational thought of lower light. We're not good enough. We're unworthy. We don't deserve anything better. So when the child or the person is berated from birth, they lack self-worth. And thus the narcissistic brainwashing or tendencies or whatever violent behavior, whatever comes out, it's propagated out from that self-doubt. I'm really not good enough. It's just like my parents taught me. It's like society taught me. I'm really no good. I'm not behaving as I should. So the guilt process training can come through the parents, through the church, through the school, through the legal system, medical system. It doesn't matter. Whatever system, educational system, it doesn't matter. All the systems of lower light here on your planet divulge certain truths, but then hide the others. So you may have a certain opportunity here or there on your world, but then they're denigrated, or they just plain disappear. And then you're not adhering to your higher truth. So it's all a brainwashing technique to make you feel less than. The narcissistic approach is better than everybody else, but I'm just doing that. I'm acting or behaving or thinking that way because I'm just hiding my shame. I'm hiding my guilt. I'm hiding like how useless and worthless I really am. So if I puff myself up enough in my ego or lower light, I can fool people. I can convince them that I really am hot stuff. I am really worthy. I'm really good. Whereas I think I'm really not. That's a disease. That's a disease, dis-ease of the spirit light. It holds you down. From crown down, it holds you down. And it keeps you there. And then you are caught in a repetitive pattern that loops and goes on and on and on and on and on until somebody breaks it, until it snaps. And then you get your soul purpose back. So in some of these instances where Spirit has guided me to meet certain men, I'm going to talk about narcissism in a romantic relationship, because we've talked about narcissism in all other types of relationships. But this is where it seems to be Spirit wants me to focus on tonight. So we're going to focus on that. So in a romantic relationship where people come together, they marry, they live together, they propagate, have children, whatever, that propagates that low level light program. Now, one of the two people in the romantic relationship can be the narcissist. The other could be their twin. They could both manufacture that to come in, is how I'm hearing it. Or one can be not a narcissist and the other one is. There are all various conditions and modus operandi, different ways of being within the narcissistic relationship that propagates children who propagate and expand on that narcissistic program down their line of time. So you see, it keeps on going and going and going and going. Even if the children are not genetically and enhanced in any way, they can still bypass this. If they learn about it and they understand it, they can actually bypass that program of lower light, because that holds them down. It holds everybody, you and I, everybody in the collective. It holds everybody down. And I keep hearing it from crown down. Okay, this is a root chakra issue here that needs to be cleared. And if we're talking about it tonight, then, we've got to look at it, disseminate the truth of it, and move on from it. It can't hold us down any longer. It's suffocating. It's ridiculous. I keep hearing all day long, I've been hearing, this is a ridiculous program of unworthiness, of lack of self-worth. And yet, look at how potent it's been. I mean, we're all narcissistic to a certain degree, or to a certain point. So these men whom Spirit has guided me to meet, synchronicity, whatever, different people, you agree before you come in here that you're going to work on something for your spiritual growth with another person, so we can mirror each other, we can help each other grow. Some people like to call it soulmates. We have all kinds of soulmates. Can be parents, children. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but lots of times it is. So in these romantic relationships, we're learning about ourselves and each other, first and foremost, because it's a very intimate timing experience that we hold together. There's a lot of truth that comes out with this. There's a lot of manufactured truth. There's a lot of root chakra energy going on there that has to be resolved. So what I've been shown with every single one of these men whom I have related experiences with in regards to narcissism, some have had a small degree, some of narcissistic behavior, others like almost up to 100%. It's been really intense. What I have noticed in these relationships, and I'm going to say they're dating relationships, nothing further came of that because, of course, I was shown the reason for meeting and for working through the narcissistic programming. And once I saw that, then I could clear it and be done with it. But I've noticed the pattern. Every single male whom I have spent time with, dating, getting to know, the narcissistic training has been the biggest program to work through. Some of these men never see it. They don't get it, they don't understand it, they can't see themselves, in other words. It's a tricky one to master, let's just put it that way. And others are very gently starting, and from my observation, gently starting to work through it because they kind of sort of sense there's something not quite right there. But bottom line, it's a trap. It's a deadly trap. And if you don't see it and work through it, it will keep you back. In other words, you will not transcend this line of time. So the psychology behind it is important. The understanding of why that behavioral pattern is there is important. As I said, sometimes it's just in their DNA. Other times they were forced to be that way. And forced being they were so brutally raised by the parents that it perverted, it distorts the mind and the mind's eye to the point where they can't see reality, they can't see what's real and what's not. and what's false, right? They just can't tell the truth from the lie. So they just have to learn how to get by. So in other words, what can I have from you as an outside source, a physical being, a person to feed me, because I'm depleted in my light, you see. So they never think of looking to give, they only look at to take, because they're so depleted. What's there to give? They feel so less than, they feel unworthy, they feel undeserving. They hate themselves and everybody else because of how much and how badly they've been brought down in life. There's so much hate involved. I've really seen that. It's been quite an eye-opener to me, how much hate is involved in the narcissistic pattern due to the abuse. Because we're not that way. Higher light is not that way. It's all love. Doesn't envelop fear and distrust and hate and abuse and killing and violence and forcible confinement and all the rest of that stuff. It's just the opposite. But how can you see it when you're drowning in the lower light? You can't see your higher light. So again, you can't see the forest for the trees. You don't even know what it means to be narcissistic. You have no clue that you're a narcissist or you have a narcissistic temperament, trained from childbirth and on. So this is a very destructive pattern of thought to erase. But it's coming up now before the human race. It has to be lifted. And this is all about your disgrace. It's how you feel disgraced, okay? This is the disgrace of the human race. It's an abomination that was put in place or set in place by the lower energy race, the low frequency race, the lower light beings, in other words. So they've really done a number on your heads. They've really done you in for a very long period of time, millennia, I'm hearing. So now you're starting the climb. You're starting to come back up out of that diseased state of mind. You're being refined. And this is coming from the Christ light timeline. Right? That's intersecting now. It's divine. It's intersecting with the lower light, the lower life mind. Okay? The old burdensome mind. However we were genetically programmed in the past is not going to last. Okay? It's not ordained to last. So do your research on narcissism. There's so much information out there. I mean, when I went through to be a PSW, and I told you this before, we got this book, huge section in this book all about mental disorders. And narcissism is considered by the medical community to be, a mental disorder, along with hoarding, by the way, Hoarding, because that's an emotional attachment. I literally knew someone who had this drawer full of knives. And every time he went out to buy a new knife, he bought two. And so there'd be one out of the package, one in the package. And I would say, well, why did you buy two? You only need one. I mean, how many knives can you use at one time? I just in case, just in case something happens. And then there was the emotional attachment. Well, I remember, like my daughter gave me that, so I have to keep it. Anyway, there are emotional attachments and a lot of neediness involved there. But anyway, I digress. So, narcissism is a disorder in the mind, but also in the third eye mind. But it's always reflecting back to a lower state of mind, a lower purpose, and low self-worth. So as we're transcending these timelines, we're gauging where we are on the divine line of time. If you are narcissistic in your darker lower mind, you have to transcend that timeline. You have to let go of those old codes where you felt less divine. Because if you're, and you know about manifestation, if you are thinking, even in the subconscious, you may not be aware of it consciously, but in the subconscious, if you're carrying those guilt codes that you're not good enough to transcend this timeline into the divine because you're, a worthless being, then how are you going to transcend the timeline? Because your conscious mind wants to move you forward, but the subconscious is holding you back. It's this tug of war. So many people would say to me, well, I want to do this, but why? Why can't I accomplish it? I just want to be able to do it, and it's not happening. There are a lot of subconscious issues holding you back. That's why. Narcissism is only one, but it's a big one. It's a big generational one. It's where we all fear that we're not good enough to clear this timeline. And these transcendence codes are of a higher line of time. They're divine. How can you transcend this lower, weaker timeline if you are not fully conscious, aware that you already are divine? You are from another higher divine line of time. You're from the Christ line. But when you're in a demented sort of mind, like you don't know who you are, you don't remember anything, how can you be whole enough within yourself to transcend your timelines? You are holding yourself back, nobody else. Doesn't seem quite fair, does it, when you don't know what you don't know? But this is what the awakening time period is all about. It's waking you up to understanding your divinity codes and your higher timelines. This is the explosion of the new neural network codes on your world and on your planet. You will transcend these timelines one way or another. It's going to be encapsulated in your higher thought waves. So you can hear speakers like ourselves speaking up, giving you these tidbits of advice, these seeds of thought to implant in the superior brain, so you will hold less disdain. And that disdain is against yourselves. You are to free yourself from that. That's final freedom. When you come to see and love yourself like nobody else, you don't need a romantic partner to love you. It's nice to have a complement, as they're called. Your true equal complement. It's not one being in enslavement by the other. Nobody owns another person. One soul doesn't own the other. Even if you give in to it for a time, you wake up eventually, because you go like, oh, I think I've had enough of being owned as a slave. My mother said that. I think I've told you that. When I was 17, my dad really liked to get my brothers and I to do all his work for him, as my mother used to say. And one day she put her foot down and she just said to him, You're not making that girl, is the only girl, and I'm the youngest. You're not making that girl do any more work around here. She's going to be a slave for the rest of her life. I love the first part of that. Dad actually obeyed her, to my shock and surprise. As Dad said, Dad only married Mom because he knew he could control her. He didn't tell her that till he was retired in his 60s. Pride and ownership. Okay. Possession. You cannot possess another's soul. You may like to think you do. Maybe even the person says, okay, you can, I will be your possession. But you can't. You can pretend for a while, but you can't. You're not subject to slavery here. That will soon all disappear. So when Spirit called me out of my marriage 20 years ago, I did go kicking and screaming. I didn't like it. I liked to be married. I couldn't see what was going on in the marriage. That was not soul purpose helpful to me. I couldn't complete my soul purpose mission in that situation. Even my father, who had crossed over, came to me in a dream, as I've told you, and said, I'm getting you out of this marriage. And I said to Dad, I don't want to. And he came back a second time, getting you out. And in less than a year, I was out. Strange circumstances, but when Spirit wants something done, Spirit gets it done. Whether it goes against the legal system or the medical system or whatever, it gets done. That I can attest to. Strange things happen in this simulation, and it's done just like that. When Spirit steps in and takes over, Spirit means business, and it gets done. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So those old paradigms, those old thought waves, it's like, the man owns the woman or whomever. This is, I'm old chronologically, well, old soul-wise as well. But, I'm talking about the old paradigms here. If you're really young, maybe they've shifted. I hope they have. But this old paradigm, men and women in relationship, there are good things and bad things. I'm going to use those words. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But let's keep the good stuff, and let's let the other stuff that isn't so good for us, let's let it go. Let it go out in the wash, okay? And one of those is that narcissistic approach that the other partner in the relationship, in the romantic relationship, is there to serve them. I'm entitled. Why? Where'd you learn that? No, it's ingrained in you. Either it's in the DNA, it's perverted in the mind, in the mind's eye. I always hear it as that brain doesn't function properly. You got a glitch. There's a little glitch in there. Or you have been taught and trained it in childhood from the environment that you've been in. You can unlearn that. You can undo that, right? It's possible. You can, and you will, and you shall. Because it's time to get rid of it. There's no more hanging on to that. Okay, I'm hearing it's like a promissory note. No, it's out. Get rid of it. The promissory note is from Spirit. We're getting you out of here. Just like I heard 20 years ago. We're getting you out of here. you have more to do in life than to be a slave as a wife. Okay? And I'm not saying everybody is in the same circumstance, but in my parents' generation, definitely. And in my generation, yeah, as I say, I'm hoping in the younger generations that you're already breaking away from that way of being, and that course of lower learning, the brainwashing. Because if you're under a system of control, how can you control your own life? I'm not against marriage. Okay, don't put words in my mouth here and misunderstand what I'm saying. Right? Whatever you want in a romantic situation, you do whatever you want. That's your business. You reap what you sow. Okay? We don't go sticking our noses into everybody's business, telling them what to do. That's another paradigm that we can work on getting rid of. You know, there's no judgment. It's like, I've seen this so often with people. Like, well, Susie Q should be living her life like this, and that guy over there shouldn't be doing that. And it's none of our business. Mind your own business. Okay? Work on yourself and nobody else. That's how you raise your light. Right? Don't interfere in other people's business, because they have their own plan. They're plotting their own existence. They have their own soul purpose mission, and it's not yours. Okay? You may work in tandem with them, but it's got nothing to do with you. You have no right to tell others what to do. Now, when somebody comes to you and asks, well, I'm not sure, what do you think? By all means, the door is open. We can give our opinion. But always end it with, this is what I think, this is what I see. In case you can't see yourself, let me be your mirror. And I'm offering this opinion or information from my point of view. But of course, bottom line, it's your choice what you want to do. Always end it with that. It's your choice what you want to do. But I'm hearing to say from Spirit, but complete your mission anyway. Soul purpose missions. Number one priority. But if somebody comes along and offers you, in a romantic relationship, I'm offering you this if you do that for me. You might want to think about it, once or twice. Can be tempting, right? What's the agenda? Are they coming from love? Are they a giving, loving, supportive person? Or are they just looking to take? And that'll end up in heartbreak. So it's a little dicey right now. It's a little tricky to maneuver through all these energies, because we're shifting and sifting out the old and we're bringing in the new, and can feel a little reckless too in everything you say and do. Wow. Yeah. Okay, not hearing anything else. Or anything else about the narcissistic approach to life? It's a lower life. It's a lower set of values for our life. It's not a higher part of life. Okay, and it leads to heartache and strife. Okay, that's all I'm getting. Yeah. If you do wish to book an appointment with us, you can go to the website www.healingourenergy.ca and book your appointment there. As I said before, there are gift certificates available if you want to give a gift certificate for the holidays. And I guess that's about it. I might do something for the solstice. I'm not sure yet. We'll see what happens. Okay. I love you always. Take care of yourselves and others. And we shall speak again. Bye for now.